Hello, I'm Noele Hammett and I'm going to be talking to you about sunscreens. This is the first in a series of videos discussing a beginner's guide to healthy skin. So I'm a skin health care professional. So many years ago you called me a beauty therapist, but my specialist area is skincare. I've spent the last 26 years working with lots of different people's skin. I would have said thousands over that period of time. I've tried and worked with many brands over the years. I'm very proud to have a kind of a diverse portfolio of brands that I've worked with. So I've got a true understanding about how those ingredients and brands work with the skin. And I couldn't have done that and gone on to produce my own product brand if I hadn't had that experience. I took all the best, very best of what I learned. I also took the very worst of what I learned. And I feel, all those experiences enabled me to produce my own product brand that I'm extremely proud of. But I am going to do a series of videos that isn't actually talking about OneSkin as a brand or any of my products. It's literally about skin and skincare. I am going to talk about sunscreens and I'm coming from a skin health point of view. So if you're hearing lots of things in the press about sunscreens and coral reefs, there's an amazing article that you can all go and have a little look at that talks about this on Lab Muffin Beauty Sciences site. She has done extensive research, so she comes from a science point of view. Now, all I'm discussing is what I believe from all the knowledge and experience that I've had with skin, results that I've seen of the importance of, using a regular SPF. That's why I'm calling it a beginner's guide. So if you want too technical, it's not that I don't know technical, it's the fact that there's so many people out there, that I have been saying, the science is baffling me. I just want to know in simple layman's terms, what's going on, which is the best for me. And then obviously is their knowledge and, and they're comfortable, maybe they want to find out a bit more. But I just want to start with a beginner's guide to start right from the beginning. Now, there's two main types of sunscreens. You've got chemical sunscreens and you've got physical sunscreens. Now, your physical ones, so these are like zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. So these are ones that are applied. They're the ones that give you a bit of a white cast, unfortunately, when you use them. And that's one of the, I'd say, downsides to using a physical sunscreen. But what they actually do, they sit on the surface of the skin as the rays and the light hit the skin. They reflect the light away. So you find with that, I do love a physical sunscreen because nothing has entered the skin. If the adequate amount has been put on and reapplied, you haven't had any inflammation on the skin at all. It's hit the skull and reflected away. It breaks it down and reflects it away. The actual chemical sunscreens, so these will actually penetrate the skin and they're broken down within the surface of the skin and they create a heat. The light is transformed into a heat and then is scattered basically, and so that has had, I believe, some inflammation has taken part. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not good for you. It's just a different way of working with sunscreens, and it also depends on your skin type. So some, even if you prefer the idea of a physical sunscreen and that it's it reflects away and doesn't like the thought that a ray has penetrated and changed the heat, you might find that you have a irritation or a reaction to a physical. So you have to really try what works best for you. Because my overall opinion on it is, there's a lot of controversy as, oh my goodness, the pros and the cons of using it. The realistic view on it is the amount of inflammation and damage that is done through not using a sunscreen far outweighs whether you're using a chemical or physical sunscreen anyway. So which one you decide to use is really irrelevant if you would, don't want to see the results of not using one altogether. So obviously the discomfort of burning, but it is the DNA cellular damage that you're doing by allowing UVA and UVB to penetrate your skin. You know, there's a lot of people that will use like once a day SPFs, whether it's chemical or physical. You know, I've always, for many years now, recommended clients to use an SPF of 30. When you go over 30, even on children, the amount of difference, you know, that it takes to get to a 50, for instance, the amount of chemicals, extra chemicals that you use, you're only getting about 1% more cover. It's a lot different. It sounds like a lot when you look at the packaging. Packaging is one of those things, and labelling with sun protection that varies whether you're in Europe or you've got products that's produced in Europe or it's produced in the US. Now, the US views an SPF as being a drug, whereas the European market is a cosmetic. My products are made in the US, so I love the standpoint that actually it is viewed as a drug. It's something that I use as standalone product. It isn't a moisturiser. It may have ingredients in there that bring on, you know, moisturising factors, because obviously you can't put an active, you know, physical or chemical sunscreen without other ingredients in there that binds the product together, and so that it can actually even be applied to the skin. And I've totally lost my thought for a minute. I thought I was doing really well there for a second. I hadn't stopped or breathed. So yes, I like the fact that, you know, that it's thought of as a very important part of your skincare, and that's why it is a standalone product. It's also one of those products that I 100% recommend you washing off at the end of the day, because you should take it off. It is occlusive. It is the last product that you would put on your skin before you'd put on a foundation, you know, if you're wearing a foundation. So I mean, my thoughts, if I've got let's have a look. So if I've got a acne client that gets a lot of breakout skins, I find a physical SPF much better with physical sunscreens. It tends not to clog the pores. You don't tend not to get as much irritation, but you do get the white cast. If you get a chemical sunscreen, you can get a little bit more irritation. So if you get prickly heat, because there's heat formed with the reaction with the light hitting the sunscreen, it can cause people to get heat irritations in the sun. Now, I have suffered with prickly heat my whole life. I am, you know, certain brands previous, obviously to having my own, you know, did interrupt, you know, that and caused my skin a lot of problems. So I found it very difficult when I was young to find the right sort of sunscreen that didn't, you know, allow my skin not to cause this reaction. And I have seemed to have found the right, you know, formula. I actually like some sunscreens that have actually got a combination of physical and chemical, which so if you have a lower dose of the chemical, it takes a little bit of the white cast away. It also is very good for when the light hits the skin and you've got a physical, unless you put really adequate amount, you can still find holes within the molecules, so sometimes they escape through. If you're using a chemical as well, they kind of you can use that in a lower dose, so you haven't got as much chemical sunscreen in there, but it will actually kind of mop up any holes. So I see it does come down to choice. So I'm trying not to go I'm pro one or I'm pro the other, because like I said, I'm quite happy to use a product that's got both of them in. I tend to prefer one with a lower dose of chemical and higher dose of physical. This does prove a problem with darker skins, I have to say. Or on the other point that I think is important to say, that if you use a chemical sunscreen, you are more likely to stimulate pigmentation. So if your skin is prone to pigmentation, the heat, you can get pigmentation increasing just through heat. So I've got many clients that say, you know, I haven't even been out in the sun, you know, my pigmentation's come out. I've used my SPF, you know, 30, 50 or whatever they've been using. I've had a big sun hat on, but heat can create that, the pigmentation to you know, be stimulated. But a chemical will, because of the heat reaction that goes hand in hand with using that product, you will find that may stimulate that. So I would, on those skin types, recommend a physical. So I try to show both sides of the fence on that one. Always to remove, always to reapply. I always reapply recommend 20 to 30 minutes before going out. And that's either, I mean, they say that if you use a physical sunscreen, you can put it on immediately and it will cover you. Some brands do. Better to be safe than sorry. Obviously, there's also the argument if we've got getting no vitamin D. Again, you're often only exposing a couple of areas of your skin anyway, so the amount that you would penetrate through your face and possibly your hands. I still also will recommend people wearing hats. My son literally does not go out without a hat. He's fair like me. He has over the summer, he spent an awful lot of time outside playing tennis, football, every sport you can possibly imagine, but he's always got his SPF on. He is really good at reapplying himself, because often these are days he's out for the whole day, so he knows, and we do lessons at home, I'm sorry, about applying SPF. He's got his hat on, drinking lots of water. Also for us, adults more obviously than children, when obviously they're playing sports, sunglasses. I'm not trying to turn everybody into not going out in sun at all. There's lots of benefits from sun and feeling positive. It's just everything in moderation. I do use an SPF every day. There will be times, I look at the day, I like to get some light to my skin. You get light and UV damage from your light bulbs and your computers and laptops these days, so you're not away from it all, but I probably would say half an hour a day, hanging out the washing or something or other, because there's other benefits from the body, the bones, that needs that, but I am very careful with your face, because at the end of the day, that a lot of people are concerned about the aging element, as well as obviously skin cancer. So you have got to be any overexposed areas, face, back of necks, ears. For gentlemen, if they've got less hair on their heads, back of hands, all those areas, do take them into consideration. And also the little feet, people with flip-flops, the heat's, I love flip-flops. The heat coming down on the light coming down on them, people forget to put a little bit on their feet. Try to just remember. And another little tip that I was talking to a customer about the other day, she always suffers from pigmentation. Lots of people suffer from pigmentation actually here, these lines, and around the sides here. And often that is not only do people get it from the rays coming through the window of a car, you can get it through the glass, but also often people have the windows down. But it's because we have this thing about not putting our sunscreen too near to our hair, because we might get it in our hair. So the amount go, I stop there, and they put it round and they go and they kind of stop, not too close, and then just they're allowing these big sort of kind of areas and they kind of really do hit the light, especially when you're in a car. The other area again that people forget is the top lip. But they do with all your skincare. The amount of people I get to show how you apply your product, they'll go around it all, around their face. Oh, what about the lip? The lips can be treated with most skincare. SPF, please don't leave out your lips. But the upper lip, and that's, not only obviously there are other things that cause, aging around the mouth, but sun is one of the biggest aging factors. So, your application, adequate application, making sure it's thorough. If you can find the right one for you, that's a lightweight. There are brands out there that do take all those things into consideration, so that you will get a really lovely coverage. You might have to, test a little bit, see if they've got testers or travel sizes. Travel sizes are good, like small ones, so you can have a good few applications, see how you get on with them, take it away for your first holiday. And so most people don't change their SPF. Once they've found a brand that they're happy with, they will stay with that, because it is really hard to find the one that suits you. It's actually harder than finding probably your favourite moisturiser or your favourite boyfriend, either one. please, yeah, any questions that you've got. Like I said, mine's only a beginner's guide. It's just showing you an overview, of SPFs, not trying to lead you in one direction or another. There's pros and cons for both. Obviously, Google's, you can look into more detail, ask questions, pop onto some of the sites that I recommend as well. To if you want to know more about the science or what effects that SPFs have on other parts of your body. Children is a big area, but I'm very comfortable with what I use for Hudson, and he's my life. So I think that if you're recommending something for your family, then you've got to really believe in it. So I hope that's helped a little bit. It is my first video, so I've probably rushed bits and I've probably babbled a bit, but I've got to start somewhere. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Bye.